This is Laricy Live, and I'm your host, Matt Laricy. We're giving you unfiltered access to the world of real estate, where we can cover the market trends, news, and honest answers to keep you ahead of the real estate game. Laricy Live is brought to you by Lincoln Title. Lincoln Title is the best and most efficient title company in Chicago and is the best place to close your property. Laricy Live is brought to you by Guaranteed Rate and Ben Cohen. Ben Cohen is the #1 lender in Illinois and can close your loan in as fast as 8 days. Okay, so we are doing a year in review, a little recap, if you, 2024 is coming soon, kind of like one of those listings where you put coming soon on there. And what I want to do today is give kind of like a quick recap of what we saw happen in 2023 and go over some of the biggest issues. So let's start with one of the hottest topics, rates. Where did rates go at the start of the year? And where did they end at the end of the year? So the highest point rates got to was 8.25%. If you had a condo, though, they were as high as 8.5%. So let's call it 8.5% was pretty much the highest on a condo, like non-perfect credit, etc. The lowest they got was at the beginning of the year. So the start of the year was the lowest point rates were at 6.75%. Today, they're actually hovering around just below 7 to 7.1, depending on your credit and what type of property you're buying and what type of product you're getting. And the rates are dropping. And, I've talked about my theory of rates being 5.5 to 5.9 by the end of the year, beginning of next year. I don't think it'll happen by the end of the year, but, if the rates keep in the free fall that they have been in, we will see it. But the rates have been one of the biggest driving factors to the market this year. The rates have made less inventory hit the market because a lot of people are on what we called a housing freeze. The rates have deterred a lot of people from buying this year. People are too scared to buy, so they ended up renting again. The rates have decreased prices in certain parts of the city. So the rates were probably one of the, if not the biggest factors to the market this year. Let's talk about neighborhoods. Which neighborhood performed the best? In all honesty, we don't have the end of the year stats. We won't have the full stats until probably like mid-January. So, we're in December now shooting this so we could give a synopsis. But I can tell you from looking at the past 3 quarter stats that we have and up until year to date, that Logan Square and Roscoe Village seem to be the 2 best performing areas due to the amount of inventory they had. So they had the lowest amount of inventory. They had the quickest market time. Those 2. But overall, though, like Logan, Buck, Wicker Park, North Center, which includes Roscoe Village, Lakeview, and Lincoln Park were the neighborhoods that hands down performed the best. Those were the hottest neighborhoods in the city. Those are the neighborhoods, first day on, first day off, things got crazy, things got wild. Specifically the properties that were under $500,000 and single-family homes. Properties that were like that in those areas really, really perform well. Which neighborhood performed the worst? The near north side actually performed the worst. So the near north side makes up Gold Coast, River North, Cedarville, and Old Town. So the Loop has previously been the worst neighborhood for the last couple of years. Near north side has taken it. Near north side has a higher market time. They have more listings that have come on and not sold successfully. And they have the most inventory. In fact, they got about a month to a month and a half more inventory. In both areas, though, if we want to break it down even further, in the Loop and the near north side, for properties above 1.5 months of inventory, we've seen as high as almost 19 months of inventory. Think about that, guys, almost 19 months. America is averaging 5 to 14 days of inventory, and let's call it 19 months of inventory in the heart of the downtown for luxury properties. That's like absolutely insane. So that shows you just how bad that market is. You take a property, $1.5 million, and you put in Lincoln Park in a single family home, and it sells first day on the market, and you can't even get a showing on something like that, maybe in the Gold Coast. So there is a big, big difference in how some of these neighborhoods have performed. When it talks about, is it still a tale of 2 cities? So this has been a big thing where I talked about, as we headed into this year, I said we had a tale of 2 cities. We are still seeing that tale of 2 cities where the outskirts, Westtown, Wicker Park, Bucktown, Logan, Lakeview, Lincoln Park, north part of Old Town, those type of areas are outperforming The downtown markets, as we said, like River North, Cedarville, Gold Coast, Old Town, or South Part Old Town, New East Side, Loop, South Loop, West Loop. It is a tale of two cities. You are seeing two different markets. Inventory levels on the outskirts averaged, most parts of the year around 1.5 months, whereas the downtown averaged about 6 months of inventory. That's a substantial difference. That's essentially like a 3 times a difference in market in inventory levels. So of course the outskirts will be better, and I still think that we're probably a good 18 to 24 months away till the downtown markets come back. I mean, I just read the latest stats that the RTO numbers are the highest that they've been. RTO means return to office. We are at 61% as of this podcast, which is absolutely great because we need more people back to the office, which will help the downtown stuff. But we'll cover more of that in our predictions for 2024. But for the time being, we will tell you that it is still, this year we did see the tale of two cities. Which area had the highest market time? The Near North Side. The lowest market time from what I've seen so far, of course this could change at the end of the year, but so far it's been like Logan Square and Roscoe Village have had the lowest market time. Where were the best deals this year? The best deals were in the areas that were the hardest hit. So honestly, high rises, anywhere a high rise was in the downtown markets is where you could have gotten a best deal. Or a high rise above 1.5 million was even a better deal. I mean, you're seeing some people, I see some places that sold for like $5 million in 18 that are on the market for 3.5 today. I mean, that's insane. A $1.5 million decrease. Go talk to your friend in Florida and ask them if they've sold for anything for $1.5 million less than what the people paid for it, 5 years ago. People will think you're crazy. So that's where the best deals were this year. How did the overall sales go? How are the sales in the city? At the end of the second quarter, they're down about 37.5%. Right now, I'm seeing them around 30% down. Again, we don't have the actual end data, but let's call it 30% down is what sales were in general. It was a bad market. It's been a tough year. There was a stat that just came out that said that October had the lowest amount of deals pending in history, meaning that we've had the lowest amount ever happen in the history of America in October. Now that's a nationwide stat, so I'm not saying that's how Chicago's been in general, but it just shows you that the market has been trickier this year. Anybody that tells you that the market hasn't been difficult just isn't really doing any business. There's a few big agents who had a better year than the year before. That's great. I'm good for them. I applaud them. But what I'm saying is that in general, the sales overall are down substantially. And I just look at, even just the numbers of closings and where people are falling, and it's laughable. And I look at it year over year, and I look at over 4 years over, like how it was 4 years ago, et cetera. So you are seeing a substantial difference in the amount of sales in the city. How was our sales year over year? We're currently down about $40 million. We'll probably finish $40 million below what we sold the year before, which is a pretty big decrease. We're on pace to finish number one in every category: volume, transactions, buyer transactions, and seller transactions. So that shows you that even us down $40 million, we could still finish on the top of the leaderboard. And that's not something to brag about. I'm just showing you that our business is down and we're still winning technically. But I'll tell you, I look at this year as a failure because this will be the first year in my personal career that I didn't finish better than the year before that. I've never done that before ever. In all my years doing this. Next year will be 19 or 20 years or something like that. And I've never finished worse. And it's a testament to the marketplace. It's a testament that there was honestly, no joke, out of the 40 million that we lost or that we're down on, I could count, no joke, $25 million in deals that we had under contract that didn't close. Meaning that we had 25 million more. We should have 25 million more. We've had multi-million-dollar properties, day of close, fall apart. It's the worst feeling in the world. But we'd still be down 15 million if all those close, but that wouldn't be as big of a gap as 40. And honestly, that kind of feedback of deals dying is a testament to where the market is too. So if you ask any agent if they've lost more deals this year, they have. And honestly, it's just, people are a little bit more nervous about the market. They're nervous about the economy. They're nervous about overpaying. They're nervous about the rates. They're nervous about a lot of stuff. I've probably seen more Texas two-step buyers this year than I've ever seen in my personal career. I saw a lot of them in 2020, right after we got on the lockdown. That was my previous, year where I seen the most deals die. This year, We actually have double the amount of deals die this year than we had any other year in my career. Double. That's insane. We always lose maybe 5 in like a really good year, 10 million in like a bad year, but never 25. It's crazy. What about the buyer versus seller this year? Did the market favor more of the buyer or the seller? So that's a big general stat, like you can't just say, the buyer won or the seller won, because first off, real estate trades at different prices at different times of year. And there's different, micro markets inside of the macro market of like the Chicago markets that we talk about. Okay. So if we look at the outskirts, okay, and below $500,000, the market favored the seller the entire year. Okay. If you look at single family homes on the outskirts, the market favored the sellers all year. If you look at the middle market, that's 750 to let's call it 1.25 in the outskirts, the market favored the seller in the beginning part of the year and favored the buyer for the back 4 to 5 months of the year. If you look at the downtown markets, okay, the market favored the buyers the entire year. The entire year it favored the buyers. Right now it really favors the buyers. And if you look in the luxury markets and the downtown markets, as we have discussed, it has favored the buyers. So, I always say this to people and they're like, well, I heard it's a bad market. I heard it's a good market. I said, well, what are you selling? Where is it? And what's the price point? We can't fall into this, this category, this knee-jerk reaction society that we live in that says, well, my buddy bought this and they said it was terrible. Okay, they buy $1.5 million place in River North. Yeah, it is terrible. They buy a $300,000 place in Lincoln Park. Terrible. That's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So we have to look at the exact type of property you're buying and where. We can't generalize. But overall, it was a buyer's market downtown and a seller's market on the outskirts overall. What month was the best for sellers? Probably April. April this year was about the where we saw the most number of deals kind of go under contract. Generally speaking, first week of January to the end of April are your best months of the year, and May as well. But like January to April is like if you're not having a panic attack, if your eye's not twitching because you're so busy, if you're not a little testier, then you're not doing any business. I mean, that January to April is like bad. I mean, I'm talking, guys, it is like I might sleep 2 to 3 hours a night tops during those times. Tops. It's crazy. It is crazy what happens. But this year, January started off like a turtle. Like we were ready for January because in my career, me personally, now we can't generalize for the whole market because I take a different approach to how I do my business. But me personally, I put the most number of units under contract in January. That's normally my way I go about it. But this year was different, and that was because the market started off slower because people were still a little bit gun shy because of the rates, and they thought like, well, maybe rates, they started at 6.75, maybe the rates would drop down to 3 again. People thought this, and that kind of made the market a little bit slower. So, but then, the market ramped up, and, by April, the market got really crazy. What was the worst month, or what was the best month for buyers and worst month for sellers? So the best month for buyers was probably, I would say October was the best month. Or you know what, I'm going to take that back. It's September. September was the best month. And the reason is that October was awful. So I would say October was the worst month for sellers because there was no action. I mean, we had the least amount of activity in October than any other month. And that probably goes back to the stat I rattled up earlier that in October, there was the least amount of deals pending in history. So that was the worst for sellers. But I'd say that September was the best month for buyers because once end of September hit, a lot of sellers pulled their properties off the market. So September was the best month for buyers because that was the month where you still got a really good deal and you had some good inventory hit. Once we hit October, inventory started to feel like Nordstrom Rack, and there was a lot of kind of like good finds, but everything was kind of picked over. But September was probably the best month for them. On a personal level, what was the biggest struggle you had in 2023? The biggest struggle I had was just gripping with the reality is that we're not going to perform better than we did the year before. Like I said earlier, it's never happened before. It's kept me up. It's made me testier at the office. I yell at everybody a little bit more often this year. I'm just a winner. I like to win. I don't like to lose. When you put everything you got into it and you don't get the results, it's incredibly frustrating. when you give everything to a seller, you do everything you can, you spend a ton of money, more money than you can imagine, and it doesn't play out and you lose and then you get fired. It's terrible. I mean, I always tell people, like, imagine this. Imagine I gave you $15,000 to help you do something, and then you fire me on it. Now, not only did I lose that 15 grand, but I now don't have that relationship with you anymore. So now you hate me, okay? And I didn't do the sale, and now you're talking shit about me to everybody else in the city. So it's like, when you lose like that, it's like the worst feeling in the world, because now I just lost somebody that I had a relationship. I lost money, like substantial amount of money. I lost time, which I'll never get time back. And then I lost part of my reputation. And that happened a lot more this year than we've seen in the past. So it was a struggle, and that all, comes down to is something that we, had to cope with. What's the biggest success that I had this year is the fact that we're still, in the leaderboard position. I mean, things could shake out at the last minute where we fall off, but still, let's call it in the top couple in the city. The fact that, a lot of the stats are going to come out and say this is one of the worst years for home sales in history, and the fact that we're still technically doing extremely well, not compared to the years before, but technically speaking on an overall macro basis doing well, would be the success. And that's a testament to who we are. It's a testament that we like to win. It's a testament that we want to show our clients and everything. And when we talk about win, a lot of people out there are like, you don't really care about yourself. When I talk about winning, I talk about winning for my clients. I talk about winning and giving you guys the best customer service I can. I mean, the reality is we have 1,600 plus reviews for a reason, and it's because we do everything we can above and beyond to make sure that our people have the best customer experience they've ever had in anything. It's better than when they went to like the finest resort ever, or bought the best car they've ever bought, or, done any sort of transaction in their lifetimes. And that's our goal that we do to our clients. And I think the reason that we're still technically on a numbers perspective successful is because that we're true to our product. We stand behind our product, and I think we deliver the best product you can deliver. What's the biggest mistake you made this year? I don't think there's just one mistake in general. I'm not a smart person in general, right? I think if you looked at me from an education standpoint, I'm at best a C-level student. I got a 20 on my ACT. So I guess in the education standards, I'm not intelligent, right? I've never felt stupid. I feel like I'm incredibly intelligent, but according to educational standards, I'm not a smart guy. And I think for me, the mistake has to do with my slowness to grasp things, right? So like, for me, I looked at, the fact that we were struggling in some areas, and I knew we were struggling in certain parts, and I didn't want to rush into it. And this is how my brain works, getting back to like the education point, is that like, I'm the type of person where I'm a slow learner, okay? And once I figure something out though, like I figure it out, I perfect it and I crush it. Like I feel like I go from like a 1 reading level to like 1,000, and it's only based off 10. But once I get that reading level, like there's no stopping me. It just takes me a little bit longer than most people to figure out where I got to go with it. And I think for me, the struggle was this year, as we started this year, we laid off certain people. We had some weaknesses and holes we had to fill. And me being me is that I wanted to get to the root of what our problems were, and then how do I fix them? And it took me a little bit longer to figure that out than I would have. Like most of Americans, I'm kind of an instant gratification person, and I wanted the answer right away. And I tried a lot of different things, and a lot of them didn't work out for me. But even though those were failures, it made me understand what I need to do to get to the next level. So that was the biggest struggle I had, is just kind of figuring that stuff out, and that's kind of helped me grow as a business person. Every year you should grow and get better than you were the year before. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm perfect, right? I mean, I just told you I got a 20 on my ACT. I'm definitely not a smart, perfect person. But I always try to think about like, well, what am I going to do next year to be better than I was this year? And sometimes there are some years where I struggle to figure that out. But when I do figure out, I try to crush it. What was your highest volume sale this year? I think it was around like 3 to 3.1 in that range. So we didn't get anything like crazy. There was no like $20 million sale. We do a lot of low end stuff. I did a lot of, small stuff. We did a lot of, really big stuff. We didn't hit the year before we hit a lot more $5 to $7 million deals. And that's the thing. There's a lot of big agents out there that are like, I do $4 million sales. Like, whatever. The problem with only doing really, really high end sales is if the market gets tough, your business is gone. The way I run my business is I run my business as if I run it like my money portfolio. I don't put all my money into Apple because if Apple goes down, there goes all my wealth. I don't put all my money into bonds. I don't put it all into ETFs. I don't put it all into real estate. I spread my money out into all different categories, okay? This way, I have a lot of different vehicles in the ground. So if one vehicle starts to go down, like it got a flat tire and it's got to get worked on, the other vehicles I got on the ground are going to be doing well and pulling it up. It's very rare where every vehicle is going to be in the shop getting a tune-up. By doing this and spreading out my wealth across numerous different faucets, I'm always going to be wealthy. And that's the way I look at real estate. Why do I only want to do $2 million plus sales? Because when the luxury market goes down, so let's say the stock market goes down or anything else goes down, my business goes down big time. But if I'm doing more $150,000 to $300,000 sales because the luxury market's struggling, be able to do 50 of those a month rather than 2 sales in the $5 million category. It doesn't matter, guys. I run a diverse portfolio, and that's why some years we'll have higher high-end sales and some years we'll have lower low-end sales. It is what it is. What was my small sale this year? I did a deal. I think it was like 80-something thousand. Literally 80,000. It was probably the hardest deal I did all year. Like, no joke. I've never been belittled. I hate to say it, but my properties that I sell under $200,000, we get treated hands down the worst. It's not even a question. I don't know what it is. And for people out there that are watching, if you're buying a place under $200,000, or selling, we're people too. We have feelings. We have emotions. We're actually human beings. Okay. I don't think I ever get belittled or talked down to more when we do smaller sales. And I think that's why a lot of agents that do bigger sales don't want to do them because I don't know if it's animosity or I don't know what it is. Honestly, we tend to get good reviews from them. It's just they're just really, really difficult. They're really not profitable. You kind of break even after the time and money we spend on them. But it's a volume play. And we did a lot of small ones, but I will say it was not only was my smallest, but it was our most difficult just because of the way they treated some people in the office. What was your worst outfit you saw another realtor wore this year? So we got some fun ones here. In all honesty, we've seen a lot of. It's always the same thing. Every year we see people come from the beach. I think we're in a profession, and especially right now with a lot of people talking about how realtors are useless, etc. My company holds this business to a higher standard. We have a suit and tie. Men must be in a suit and tie, and women must be in professional attire at all times. We never budge on that. The reason we wear suits and ties is not because we feel like we're better than anybody else. We have such respect for our business and for our clientele out there that we want to let you know that, hey, wearing a suit and tie is not the most comfortable thing, but ultimately it's professional. And it's a sign of respect to our clients to show you that, hey, we take this job extremely seriously. And you wouldn't go into a boardroom in flip-flops and pajama pants and a Dago tee. You're going to go into there in a professional outfit. And that's the way we dress for our clients. But, every year around, boating season, we see people show up in, string bikinis with shorts on or tank tops with, some sort of hats on or something like that. And it's very unprofessional. And it's awkward for everybody because I don't know who the agent is when somebody walks up, in, a Hawaiian shirt that's buttoned down with their chest exposed and, board shorts on and flip flops. How am I supposed to know which one's the agent? But that's hands down been the worst outfits we saw all year. What kind of real estate social media trends did I see this year? A lot more reels. You're seeing a lot more people doing reels. You're seeing a lot more high-end property tours are getting a lot more hits. Trends come and go. I like watching some of my competitor stuff. I think hats off to all my competitors out there that even first off put time into social media. I think it says a lot about you out there that at least you're trying. You're trying to do something different. People hate on each other and talk shit. It is what it is. I think that's a fun part of the business is people kind of. Listen, you go on the court in any game, you go on the football field, you go on wherever, when you're in the, in the actual environment, you kind of got a little rough around the edges and kind of push each other around a little bit. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I like everybody in the business a lot. I like seeing what they're doing. I find it interesting watching them, and I'm inspired by my my fellow agents out there. They're actually taking the time and effort into actually, trying not only better their own brands, but I think it betters the industry when there's good social media content out there, because it does make people look at us in a better light. What doesn't make us look in a better light is when agents go on social media and say they don't work at all and they get these big paychecks. I think that's a very bad form. But when people are out there posting how hard they're working and, how little they get out of it, I think it's inspiring. How many parking tickets do I think I got this year? I averaged well over one a week. So we're probably going to finish off around 60 or so, maybe more. We're definitely creeping up on, a good 30-ish something thousand probably for parking tickets. I don't know. I'd have to check my credit card because some of them are big ones. I got a couple $1,000 ones, which are like a triple bogey. I'll tell you who's not happy about these parking tickets. My wife. The worst feeling in the world is if my wife gets the mail. She hates getting the mail. She never gets the mail. She doesn't listen to these podcasts, so I know she's not watching, so it doesn't matter. But I will tell you, I hate it when I get home. I'm tired. I'm cranky. I just got yelled at by 15 different people. And I just want to come home, have a glass of wine, just shut down for 5 minutes before I get back on the computer. And there's 15 parking tickets laid off. She lays them out on the tables and just calls me a deadbeat and then slams the bedroom door and goes to bed. I'm like, should have seen that coming. But here's the thing, guys. I could get a parking ticket or I could drive around for 20 minutes trying to find parking to show a place. It is what it is. It's a nature of the beast. It's a cost of doing business. If you want to sell downtown, we'll continue to post them. Next year, I think we're gonna do a little bigger things for our parking tickets next year. Who do I think took the most days off? Who took the least? If I announce who took the most days off, they'll freak out. You know who you are on the team. You know who you are. Who took the least? Right now, I'm looking at the leaderboard, and I should finish with the least days off. So the guy that runs the company, this is the difference. This is what I tell people all the time. What's the difference between my leadership style and other people's leadership styles? Here's the thing to know about me as a leader. I don't talk a big game and then sit on the beach, okay? I'm like George Patton. I compare myself to Patton all the time. The guy's one of my biggest idols. I'm on the front lines. I'm in the trenches. I'm getting shot at. I'm taking artillery fire. I'm not telling you to not be scared, but sitting in a different country while it's all happening. I'm sitting there getting scared with you. I'm digging the trenches. I'm digging the tunnels. I'm sitting there side by side with you, sweating, bleeding, crying with you. And that's the difference. And I lead by example, okay? I'm at 12 and a half days off. I will take a half day for Remy's birthday, so that'll put me at 13. I will take Christmas Day off. That'll put me at 14. And I have a 5-day, 10-year anniversary vacation coming up, which will probably finish around 19 days off for the year, which I think is uncanny and impossible feat to almost get. And for everybody out there who's like, I took less than 19 days off. No, you didn't. Okay? You got to count weekends. Saturdays and Sundays, guys. Saturdays and Sundays. You take off before 4 o'clock, okay? You just cut out. It's like, hey, I got nothing on the books. I'm going to go home and relax. Before 4 o'clock, half day. Anything before 6:30. You did dinner at 6:15, half day. You took Christmas off, day off. Thanksgiving, day off. Christmas Eve, day off. New Year's Day, day off. They add up quick. There's 14 or 15 major holidays off. So that's just that. That's not if your kid got sick. That's the other thing, guys. Your kid gets sick, got to go to the doctor in 6 hours of your day, half day. Discriminate between what your days off are. If you're sick itself, you take one sick day. You just can't get out of bed. Day off. We don't say we don't count those. All of those count. So 19 dagoing off for me personally. It's not my best ever. My best ever was 9.5 days in 2020. I'm substantially physically never get to that again. I'm not going to lie. I'm not mentally strong enough. But the 19, if I had to say one of the biggest things I'm proud about, it's going to be that. What's the biggest surprise of the year? I think for me, the biggest surprise is just I knew the market would be tricky this year. It's something I preached about a lot last year. It was a little bit trickier than I thought. I knew it was going to be bad. I think this was worse than I anticipated, for sure. Let's say we finished around 30% down for the city sales. I thought it would be around 10 to 15%. So it's about double as bad. That's probably not a word, but I think it's doubly as bad. We'll say. What was the most fun I had this year? On a personal level, the most fun I had was I took my kids to a 2-day trip to Orlando. When we're talking about days off, it was probably the first time I actually hung out with my kids in the years they're there, and it was to me it was a special time. I told my wife I think my heart grew a little bit. It was like the Grinch, and my heart grew a little bit. And on a professional level, the most fun I had was just being around this team. Our team is great. We're a family. We gel extremely well. If anybody out there is into sports, if you ever see when a team wins a championship and they don't have the best talent on the team, but they just crush it, and people are like, "What's going on?" It's when the team just gets along with each other. It's just when they see. It's when they anticipate every move. They know that somebody's going this way, so they're going to go that way just because they know. You could take the 3 best superstars and put them on a team, but that doesn't mean that they're going to win because they have different personalities. They don't gel and they can't play together. But for me, the most fun I had is just the fact that I get to walk into this place every single day and enjoy thoroughly who I'm with. Everybody on my team I ride or die with, their family. I would die for any single person here, and it's fun every day. Not just one day. It's fun every day. Was the market better or worse than I expected? I already talked about that. It was worse than what I expected. In closing, this year was not what we thought it was going to be. It's like the Bears, when the Cardinals manager was like, they are who we thought we were. Like, I didn't think it was going to be like this. But that's the best part about this business is that you have highs and lows, and you don't know where the market's going to go. You just don't. And I love waking up every day like a man on a mission, not knowing where the market's going to head, but trying my best to anticipate not where the puck is, but where it's going. And then altering our business models and trying to do the best that we can for that. So 2023, although you're gone, we're looking forward to 2024. Stay tuned for our 2024 predictions because I have a lot of them, and I think we're going to see a bunch of these come true. Thanks for listening to Laricy Live.